So this call is being recorded.
welcome to a winning cup, you guys. Today with me, I have Shari. Shari is a marriage counselor, therapist, and one of the programs that I am really excited to talk to her about is her human connection program that she developed. And so I'm going to let Miss Shari take it away and share that story, and then we're going to eventually get into that, ask a couple baseline questions, and we'll carry on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for having me, Win. So, yes, I'm Shari Foos, and I'm the founder of the Narrative Method. And we're part of the Human Connection movement. And as such, we create programs and products like our cards, which anyone can use to create groups and conversations and meaningful connections. And we also work with organizations to bring together all of the people who work together, or in the case of a university, all of the people who are in school together, because as we all painfully know, isolation is really a terrible problem and suffering from it. It's not having sunlight. We have these connectors inside of us that we were born with, and these connectors need to be hooked up to other people. And when we have that experience of really communicating with someone, as you and I are right now, not only does it just satisfy this deep, deep need, but it's proven out because in fMRI machines where they can track the activity of your brain, what we see is that both people who are sharing a story, whether they're listening or telling the story, both of their brains light up in the same place. So when we have this, it's not different really from getting food or water or air, the things that we need in order to thrive. And so that's what we do and try to have a really great time doing it.
Now, I have a question, and I'm going to start out with this question, and then we'll go easier. But are you saying well, obviously, I'll put it this way, you guys, and then you can decipher this. Are you seeing the human connection through technology because of COVID, or is it more, let's get two humans in the same room, live in person?
Well, that's the greatest question, of course, because you can't match live and in person.
Nope.
There are, first of all, we can't see each other from the neck down very
Yeah.
well. And that means that if we are seeing people, we can't track body language. If we are really hearing, we can't hear those subtle little sounds. So we know that that is not ideal. But on the other hand, we can be very far away from each other and still meet in real time. Or
Oh, yes, we can.
And so I mean, I have had people come onto our Zooms from literally all over the world, and that is such a thrill. So everything's a give and take, but in a time where between COVID and people being in different places and the difficulty getting around, it really does serve a wonderful purpose.
Yes, but as my fan base knows, I am a people person beyond belief. And I find it funny when people say, well, Win, you're so technology savvy. I I say I am because I have to be. And even though I hate technology, yes. And so I am more of a people person than you would think. I don't care if you're standing in my kitchen doing the dishes. You're at least talking to me or in the same room. I don't care if you're on ground helping me do paperwork. Yes, person, you know who you are, but I don't care as long as we're in the same room. And my fan base doesn't know this. My ultimate goal with moving to Arizona was to buy and this is why I chose this house via FaceTime. Thank you very much, because I can make it down here to see my actual house because of COVID. And so I was seeing this house via FaceTime, and luckily I had a team to go down and walk properties and see what this apartment complex was all about. But basically, I chose this house and I made it my mission to essentially invite, well, not invite the world, but invite people that I really truly love. And to tell you the honest truth, I have seen more people in Phoenix, Arizona in my own life than I ever did in Aspen, Colorado. For some weird reason, and I've finally figured that out, and you guys know this, but for some weird reason, Phoenix is a hub. So what that means is like LA, and by the way, I'm only 4 hours away from LA, and maybe even that, but I'm 4 hours away from Palm Springs. So, but like LA, Phoenix is a hub enough so that people can carry on to the next destination if they needed to. Unlike Aspen, Colorado, no, that's not a hub situation. That's a destination beyond destinations. But my main point being is that I am a people person beyond belief. I truly like a good, decent in-person conversation. I don't, and that's what I truly like. So, um, I ask you this question. Now that we've got Thanksgiving 2021 over, and so what happens if we do, if we're lucky enough to have people celebrate Christmas with us, and we're lucky enough to be celebrating the holiday season, how could your work help? And because I don't know, some of these people may not have seen each other for 5 years, or due to COVID, due to life changes, due to everything else.
Well, first of all, I so agree with what you're saying. This work was started way before we had to go to Zoom. And it was started because, both professionally as a marriage and family therapist, in my personal life, and in the work of the narrative method, which is now in its 9th year, I see what happens when we connect in real time. We're both physically there, or we're all physically there. Yet we all have to learn to adapt. And I think people who have special abilities are always dealing with that. I mean, every human is, but especially. And that is, that is the name of the game. Okay, another slam. Now I can't do this. What else can I do? Well, the one thing we can always do is right in here. And this is the greatest computer known to man. So one of the things I really like to encourage people to do, enjoy the mind that you have. Whatever its uniquenesses are, your special gifts, your idiosyncrasies, the things that frustrate you, we all have those. But to begin to accept what is unique about the way you see the world. And it's easy to think, well, I'm bored with it because that's how I see things. I don't even really think about breaking it down. But when you start to see your impact on people, the things that they are appreciative in you, then you start to put together, wait a minute, that's my voice. That's really what I have to offer to other people, which is this one unique perspective. And we can offer that, which becomes tremendous comfort for other people, just to know that someone else, whether they're the same or different, gets me and seems to understand what I'm saying. So I actually wasn't kidding with regard to the cards. You know, when groups get together, especially if it's a big group or if it's a group that has a pattern that they fall into, whether it's arguing or good things, a great way to break the pattern is to do something else that is really constructive. So we use our cards, I mean, at holidays all the time, where this is what they look like, basically. So here's just a random card that I just picked up. And each card pertains to one of our 12 core concepts. And this one is about upgrading. So upgrading is about, as you learn more information about yourself or the world or other people, how do you take that information and kind of teach your hands at world? There's more information we need, and that will expand our entire perception.
Yeah.
So that's what upgrading is. So this card says, think of your brain as a computer. If you're running old software, you're headed for a crash. You need to upgrade.
Exactly.
So, for instance, people can equate this with different biases they may have or seen in other people, negative biases about people. People with differences are dumb. People who are this color are lazy. Whatever these things are. But when you have the privilege of really talking to someone and meeting them for who they are, not for your own assumption, when you put yourself aside and you are just present to hear someone's story the way they tell it, your whole life can change, because all of a sudden you realize, I am not the only one with a deep inner life. I'm not the only one with problems, who sometimes doubts myself, who sometimes feels confident, who struggles with this or that, or paying our bills, or whatever the universal things are. And you start to appreciate that you're not alone. You're not alone with whatever you struggle with. So this card tells you about upgrading, tells you to think of your brain as a computer, and that if you don't upgrade with new information, you're going to crash. So the prompt here is, what led you to revise an old story?
Yeah.
So
What?
maybe the story is, nobody understands me. But I had this conversation with somebody and we were like this. They really, they got me and I got them. So that is an opportunity to say, wait a minute, the story that we understand is just not true. Here I had an experience for someone else. So to revise that story to people,
Or they
I
may
had
have
to ask them
a
to be
similar
understood.
story 2 years, or they may have a similar story 2 years, which is always a good thing. But us as a human, and what I've learned over the past couple months, and believe it or not, I've been working really, really hard on this and learning how to be present in the moment, and learning how to, and I'm gonna be blunt here, shut up and let other people speak, because I am the type, and it's just my personality, I'm the type that will go on and on and on until people have to tell me to basically, could you please shut up so I can make a word and then twice a word. And I think that a lot of neurological disabilities, including my own cerebral palsy, we have a problem because the neurological synapsi in our brains with cerebral palsy or with any other neurological disability does not process things the way that we should. So
Mhm.
what I've been doing in therapy, and yes, I'm in therapy. Yes, I'm working extra hard on my physical therapy slash my psychological therapy. My God, um, and so what I've been doing is really trying to be less codependent and less and more live in the moment, more listen to people and then react, not the other way around.
Okay, so I don't know how long it took you to figure that out and to put it into play. But I will say that these are the things that are the hardest for us because when we first face something like that, and I could talk too much, believe me, too. I
Yeah.
mean, we all have our own stuff that we know we don't even like it about ourselves. So when we first really try and look at it head on, we may feel shame or badly about ourselves. So therefore, I've got this one thing, therefore, like I'm bad or I'm just whatever we say to ourselves. But actually, it's incredibly empowering because at a certain point, it just gets very matter of fact. Oh, yeah, I tend to maybe talk too much. So I just have to really remember to stop periodically. And that's it. It's not like you don't have to go into the whole thing of like, it's a negative thing or I've struggled with it or people don't like it. It's just a fact, it's just a fact. If I eat too much, I gain weight.
Yeah.
I don't have to be ashamed of it 24/7, but it's a fact. I have to be aware of it.
So can you use your cards as icebreakers
Oh
per
my
se?
God, yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do actually with universities is that when a new class comes in to university, there could be hundreds, thousands of students. Well, cards are designed to give people a very easy way to have a group conversation or one-on-one in a meaningful way because not everybody really knows. Like, I don't know where I should begin. This way, you're not beginning, you're just using the cards.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
it's an easy way to go deep. There's no small talk, there's no, what's your favorite color? I mean, that might be interesting, but I won't really know so much about you by your favorite color.
I'm the type and that hates the small talk. I've been I've been called, and I call myself on this podcast the kitchen table interviewer because I like to try and dig deep in these conversations and have you guys learn as much as you can from my guests. So basically, why did you start the connection method, and why did you develop these cards, which I think is a wonderful idea, by the way, um, and why?
Well, first of all, I developed the cards because you don't need a license to use your humanity. I'm
I
a therapist.
like that. I like that.
Good. So, before I became a therapist, I still had the interest in working with people. And before there were any therapists, there were friends. We don't need permission. We already have all of this stuff built in. We just need to give ourselves permission to use it. That's
Yeah.
why the cards. But why I started the whole thing was bad and had a bad life, and nobody ever talked about anything real. And it was just painful. I mean, aside from negative things that were going on, it's the fact of talking about anything that mattered. Like, how are you? Who are you? What are you interested
Yeah.
in? How do you feel about this subject or that subject? The kinds of things that make us feel alive and connected to other people. And so as I started to get some, I hate to say get better because it's a lifelong journey. You know, we all have stuff to deal with. But as I started to get a better understanding of the issues that I had to deal with in my own life and see them in a broader perspective, the first thing I realized was, oh, it's not just me. Lots of people struggle with these issues and other issues. Already that makes you feel better. And so once I started working professionally with people as a marriage and family therapist and seeing how much being present with someone, really present, and sharing your perspective based on what they've said to help them see a broader perspective and bring in new possibilities is just the most gratifying thing in the world. And so then the narrative method was started as a way not just for people to be able to do it on their own, but also as a way to see that so many of the things that we struggle with are really not based in your DNA, your health, what's happened to you at home or in your social life or at school. It's so much about the way culture, social media, advertising, television. We all learn really early that, wow, that's normal and I don't fit. And
Yeah.
everybody, even the people that we think are so popular or beautiful or happy, or they feel like that too.
Yeah.
And if all we ever learned was that we're not alone with insecurity, everyone's life would be better. And that's really
Oh, yeah.
what I hope to
Yeah.
achieve, you know.
And I was going to say that I quickly discovered in the midst of 2020 and in the midst of my life after my life fell apart, then we got 2020, and then it just, yeah, it wasn't good. My year wasn't good up until I said, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm moving. Help me move. And so that's what I literally said, help me move, people, because I'm done. I'm out of here, and I need you guys to support me and help me move. And so people did. But with everything that has gone on in my life since 2019, actually since 2010, but more in 2019, I wish I had, I wish I had Sherry's cards to hand to certain individuals, and individuals, you know who you are, to say, look, this is not cool. This is not, this doesn't help the cause. You need to understand me after, you need to understand me. You need to help me and not just react in the way that you wanted to react. Now,
Mhm.
you guys know and for those of you who are new listeners to Winning Cup, and for those of you who are new listeners to my other podcast, the artwork of CP, it's going to be shocking to you, but yes, I have been emotionally and physically abused, and my abuser has, I haven't spoken to her since the abuse number one, and she has just gone completely out of my life. My family will not believe that I still reported her as emotional and physical abuser, which she was. Um, and so, and then on the flip side, I had three individuals standing there, and not, they were so stunned that this happened to me that none of them wanted to say, get the heck out of Wynn's
Mhm.
house,
Mhm.
enough so that we can move on. And it's like, okay. One of them said, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, as I burst into tears in her arms. I'm like, really? It's not okay. It's not okay. And so I think more and more, I think the more and more I learn about the power of the human connection and the power of a loving, safe environment, the better off I'm getting and the better off I'm healing my own wounds because of losing my dad and losing my mom back in 2010, and then the emotional abuse, and then 2020, which put all of us in a predicament of being sheltered in place and everyone being sheltered in place. But the reason why I'm such an advocate about emotional and physical abuse is because I never want it to happen to anyone in my vicinity ever again. And luckily, I was brave enough. Luckily, my counselor at the time knew. My counselor at the time knew that I was physically disabled. And she goes, do you feel safe at home? I said, yes, but. And the next thing I know, that but set her off into reporting it to Adult Protective Services. And because I said, but this is just what
And
went on.
is that what you wanted her to do?
I wanted for safety reasons. Is that, and now this is gonna make me cry because no one has really ever asked me that question. Has and it's been 2 years, and I'm going to admit it publicly. I needed to do something, and as the old adage goes, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And I knew that the 3 witnesses weren't going to do anything. One of them was my aide, and I knew that the aide had her hands tied. And so, for safety reasons, for my own safety, I had to I had to report. We had to go through all that fun stuff. And for those of you who've ever been through that fun stuff, you know that that's always fun. But I
My dog.
yeah. But my point being, and yes, this is something
Excuse me.
I
Let me
want.
just make my dog get out of the room. Hang on one second. Louie, come here. Come here. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Live land appeal. That's okay.
Life
But
happens.
life happened. Yeah. And so what I was trying to say is that this is something I wanted to happen, but people automatically assume that it should happen. They they didn't ask me until the case was closed. Do you want this? Or they didn't ask me. I was doing it for my own safety more than anything else.
Wow. Well, that sounds, first of all, as hard as it was, as horrible as it was, and as abused as you felt, obviously your inner strength is amazing.
Well,
Because you were up a battery, and then you said, furthermore, I'm getting out of Dodge.
yeah,
So
I mean,
good for you.
I
mean,
got my family knows I'm down here, yes, and they know that I am down here, but they feel more people in my life feel more secure me being away from my family than me being with them. I mean, I've went through an interesting time because one of them emotionally and physically abused me. The other three witnesses, and I won't count the fourth because she just added fuel to the fire. The other three witnesses all stood there stunned, and I'm like, nope, nope, we're not doing this. We're reporting it for safety reasons. And yes, this is something I had to do for my own safety. And my abuser, and you guys don't know this, well, you guys do partially, but I taught in the education system for 13 years.
Wow.
And so,
What do you
yeah,
teach?
before I moved down here, I taught drama and preschool music and drama and all that fun stuff. So basically, kids. I taught kids. But one of the things they taught me in my new teacher training, one of the things I've learned over the years, is how to spot emotional and physical abuse in kids. Well, my abuser didn't realize that she was doing it towards me. I knew
Are you sure she didn't realize? She said she didn't realize it.
I have never asked her. I have. I don't think she realized that I was a first reporter, and so I knew the signs of emotional and physical abuse. And the first sign is when the abuser closes the door behind you and starts asking you all these questions, and then it goes on and on and on, and this is what she did. And I'm like, this is not good. This is not good, because I always, even with someone here, I always leave my door open or halfway closed. I don't leave it unless it's for a very specific reasons. I don't leave my bedroom door totally shut, because for safety reasons, even with someone here, and I've always done that. So when the abuser goes and closes the door, and there was no way in generalized senses, and I have learned over the years that the abuser won't let the abusee go and say, help, I'm being abused. Which my trick was, I was going to beeline it towards my bathroom at the time. And so I was going to say, help, I'm being abused, and have everyone come running, but everyone came running anyway. So but in general, when you get abused, the abuser won't let the abuser go. They just want to go on and on and on and get the piece in. But I knew that things were going badly. It started out okay, but um, it just went sour from there. And this is the day after my 33rd birth, my 30th birthday. This is a day after. No, this is a day after my 31st birthday.
I'm sorry.
And I'm like, great. The last gift was emotionally and physically abused win. Great. And it may not seem like I have in physical scores, but I do have internal scores.
Absolutely.
it's yeah.
And
So
so, I just want to say that I would love to invite you and any of your listeners to join us. We do free Zooms twice a week. You can check them out at thenarrativemethod.org.
I have signed up for one. I was
Oh,
going to mention
great.
this.
Fantastic.
I have signed up for the narrative method Zoom. I just wrote it down last night so I can remember what day I signed up. But to see what um, I'm excited to see what these Zoom groups
Yeah, I am. I'm excited
entail.
to have you. I think that one of the things that sharing your stories with other people really helps is that, especially especially if we have been hurt by someone, um, sometimes it's really hard to get past it because it runs deep and you just can't stop thinking about it. But when you're with other people, because it's give and take, because you're sharing your story and they're sharing yours, it does help you get a little bit out of it, not because you're going to forget it, but as you're exposing yourself to other ideas in the moment, again, it just brings out the perspective and you may get an idea about it that you would not have had otherwise. Maybe a specific way to handle something, or well, maybe I didn't perceive that quite right, or maybe this is important and I missed it. Whatever that is, it's always great to broaden your perspective about yourself, about other people. And there are times when people hurt us and they're not going to apologize, and we're not going to be able to work it out with them. And particularly at those times, one thing you can tell yourself, because it's true, people who are wounded act out like this. People who are doing fine don't do that to other people. So it doesn't solve the fact that you've been hurt by someone, but it gives you another perspective to realize they're doing this because they're jealous, they're envious, they're hurt, they're depressed, whatever that is. Doesn't make their action okay, but it sometimes makes us feel a little bit it's
She
about
is
us.
she, and the unique thing is, I was abused by a woman, and she is hurt. I know that. I know that she's been hurt for many, many years, and she's hurt because her sister died as well. My mom died, so that's hurt on top of hurt. She lost her father at her biological father at a very young age, and then she lost her sister. Also, she was older, but still the baby of the family, and I know that she's hurt beyond belief. I also know that she is a heavy alcoholic too, which that doesn't help matters. But she is hurt and she is wounded. And so now that I'm putting two and two together, I think she hurt me, outlasted me because um, she's wounded by losing now two loved ones. Um, one from a stroke, and then complications of a stroke from asthma medication, and then the other one from brain from 3 brain aneurysms that couldn't get saved. So yeah, and this person was the person that put my mom in the was the last person to see my mom before she went into a mentally induced coma. And so, talk about now that I'm putting it, it together, you guys, live as I talk to Shay, I'm thinking, this is why she physically did what she did to me, because she's not the type to say, I'm hurting, I need help. she's the type just to take the bottle of wine, take the bottle of alcohol and drink and drink and drink until she's not even funny. And so I believe, and I haven't had a conversation, but now me putting two and two together, that I believe that she was hurt. So her outrage of the two situations I just said led to emotional and physical abuse of me.
Well, it's not okay.
Well,
And
no,
knowing that it comes from her own wound, it's not enough to
yeah,
erase or make you feel better, but again, it's especially when we're hurt. I know this just from myself. When I'm hurt, I'm thinking about my hurt, and I'm thinking about, why did this person do this? Didn't they realize that on top of everything else, I've got this going, or this, or this? And the answer to that is usually no. They're thinking
no.
about what they're thinking about, and in
They're
their mind,
thinking
it's
about,
logical.
yeah, they're thinking about what they're thinking about. We, us as a human society, are so focused on ourselves, and that's why part of my training with not being so codependent on people is having a lack of empathy, and that's one of the key traits of codependency. And so this is why I'm in codependency training and
Mhm.
working on me, because um, working on me, I've got to do something now that I've lost both my parents. I've been physically and emotionally abused, and so me, I've got to start working on me. And I think the human connection method will help me along the way, and help us as a human society to learn how to communicate better with others. I mean, we don't have to have a screaming match all day long, do we? With our families at Christmas? No, we don't. After a certain amount of time, due to COVID and due to life changes, when we come around and open up Christmas presents, we want um, it to be memorable for the next generations to come. And so if they see moms, dads, aunts screaming at each other because that's in their DNA, it doesn't help. So what Sharon and I are trying to say is, I am in codependency um, meetings, meetings out the yin yang, and Sherry has the human connection programs. At least you guys should maybe want to pick up one of these programs before the holiday season.
It's a good
Yeah,
idea, and it's a good gift. So
and
you
no,
can find them at thenarrativemethod.org,
yeah,
and you can find the cards there, and you can also sign up for the events there.
yeah,
So, and learn more about our 12 core concepts and the other things that we offer. But
yes.
we really, there's nothing greater than getting more people that we didn't know yesterday, that come from places we wouldn't have been able to go to. So I hope everybody will really take advantage of this
I
opportunity and
hope
come join
so.
me.
I hope so too. And of course, I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to see for myself what Shelly teaches. But I hope that you guys, before we invite the aunts and uncles and grandparents over, that some of us will be able to work on our own human perspectives to make it
Absolutely.
a better holiday season. I mean, people are going. to walk out your door, at least I hope they do, and say, man, that was the greatest holiday season after COVID that I've ever had in my life with Aunt Susie Q or Little Johnny, because of us as a human society picking up these things from the narrative method or whatever program you choose to do.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And Shari, where can people find you if they want to get in contact with you? I know you mentioned the narrative method, which is a great website. And I know we talked about the webinars, which also wonderful. But where can people get in
They
contact
can
with
go,
you if
you
they
can
want
just
to
go
get in
to
contact with you?
thenarrativemethod.org, and everything's on that website. You can sign up for events, you can buy the cards. They're great gifts, especially for people you don't know what to give them. You're giving them an experience, not just one time, but you can do it over and over and over.
Yeah.
So you can do them, you can create a group because you don't need a license to use your humanity. You can do it one-on-one, or you can use them for writing prompts.
Yeah. And before I let you go, do you have any questions for me as we wrap this interview up?
And I just have a comment, which is honor your courage and your strength and your ability to tease out the difference between, should I stay in a bad situation or should I make myself uncomfortable and leave? And you did that.
That's
So
now, and I tell you guys, one of this is the best move of my life, and let's make 2022, now that we rose above the ashes of 2020 and 2021 and of 2019, in my case, let's make 2022 the best year yet, and let's use our compassion as a human society to give those underprivileged a hug or just have a meaningful conversation with family members. I mean, it's not all about the gifts, you guys. It's the meaningful conversations in person. Okay, Zoom can help, but we're talking about in-person conversations if you're lucky to have them. And then we can make it a better holiday season, because I swear a lot of people are seeing family members for the first time since COVID, because they might have moved or they might have not been able to see them. But let's just make it the most memorable holiday season with human connections that we can make it, you guys. And
thank
I
you.
appreciate Sherry's comments, and I appreciate you guys listening. And let's hope that you guys gained some inspiration. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. Thanks to you guys. Bye, you guys.